I think their problem in the short term is they're just about to play the Padres. And I think what we're going to learn is like last year. Yankee fans don't like to hear this. The Yankees got to the World Series last year because they were the best team in a bad league and
Yeah.
got a great draw against two overmatched AL Central teams. But I think there were probably four National League teams that were better than them last year, maybe five.
Hello and welcome to the Pinstripe Post. My name is Ryan Sampson. He is the star of the show, Joel Sherman. Today is Monday, March 5th. The Yankees just finished a spring training game, right, Joel? That's how it's going.
Start over again. You said March 5th instead of May 5th.
No. It's March 5th, Joel, because that lineup they put out yesterday was a spring
Oh,
training lineup.
oh, I thought you see. I thought I was paying attention and trying to help the show. And you're doing they went to Dunedin on a bus line there. Cool.
Yeah, so listen, Joel, I was there at the game. I know you were there too, but uh we'll start when we get there. But I before we get to any of that and where this Yankee squad is right now, how you doing? How's your Monday morning going?
Good. I'm up here at MLB Network. I'm doing a show soon. I'd like to hear in the next hour or two if the Yankees are playing tonight because we're supposed to get a big downpour and that how that is going to affect the week against the Padres. I think they have a mutual off day on Thursday, the two teams. And so, the weather's not supposed to be good today or tomorrow. So I'm curious what gets in and what exactly that does to their team moving forward.
Yeah, some interesting decisions and with the rotation came about this past weekend with Clark Schmidt being scratched from his start, but now he's scheduled to go Tuesday between Rodon and Freed. You saw Ryan Yarbrough get a start. Carrasco is working out of the bullpen. We'll touch all that and what they're doing with the rotation, but I want to start with first pitch, where this Yankee squad currently is now on May 5th. They still are in first in the AL East. I understand that 19 and 15. They've lost though 3 out of the last 4 series, and these are 2 straight series losses against division rivals in the Baltimore Orioles and the Tampa Bay Rays. And these aren't the teams you would think, considering where Baltimore is, that you would lose a series like that, but they did in Baltimore. So the state of the team right now, Joel, what's your sense on what the Yankees are doing right now and how they're playing baseball? I know I have my thoughts, but I'd be interested to hear what you have to say first.
Well, sure your thoughts are apocalyptic. You're ready to throw in the white flag here and surrender. They are in first place in their division by 2 games, which means that if they suck, everyone behind them sucks worse. Having said that, I think, look, they put out a bad lineup yesterday because they're two middle infielders, one of whom you said sucked last week, I think. And then you told me how good Peraza was at shortstop, and apparently that's not something you'd probably say again right now. And you see the value of Volpe when he's not playing, right? And so they're down 2 guys. I think most teams down 2 guys would have a problem. I think they have a bad bench. I think they got seduced in spring training by Pablo Reyes, and he's on the team. And I think the Peraza bandwagon has come and gone, and they're going to have to fix this as it goes along. But it's also possible that in a week or so, one of those spots is DJ LeMahieu, and in a month, one of those spots is Stanton. And it's 2 different righty bats, and that pushes some guys to the bench who are better. So maybe that gets fixed a little internally, though I still think they'll need a righty bat. I think the problem is the problem for that I've been talking about for all season, and it doesn't go away before July 31st, which is they just don't have enough starting pitching. Will Warren, I don't think, is ready for this right now. He can't seem to slow a game down when it's beginning to get away from him. Carrasco obviously doesn't have high end stuff. Luis Heel can't get back quick enough for them. At this point, if they even got last year's version of Marcus Stroman at
Yeah.
any point, it would be helpful for them just as placeholder until they could do something in the July trade market. I just think they're going to end up burning out their bullpen, which is a strength of the team, if they have 2 guys who pretty much can't give them anything. And let's see when and if Clark Schmidt gets on the mound. I assume, I'll take the Yankees at their word, though I've learned over the years not to do that. That he will start Tuesday again, rain permitting. And he'll do it because the Yankees need Rodon, Fried, and Schmidt now to stay healthy and be weightlifters. Because if they're not, the problem becomes more exacerbated. But this is the deep breath moment,
Mhm.
right? The Orioles are sitting with a 6 ERA in their division and bigger pitching problems than them. Walker Buehler just went on the IL for the Red Sox. The Yankees are not the only team with problems, and their blessing is that the American League kind of stinks and nothing is probably going to get away from them. Like, I think their problem in the short term is they're just about to play the Padres. And I think what we're going to learn is like last year. Yankee fans don't like to hear this. The Yankees got to the World Series last year because they were the best team in a bad league and
Yeah.
got a great draw against two overmatched AL Central teams. But I think there were probably four National League teams that were better than them last year, maybe five. And I think that right now the National League is sitting with four or five of the best, Cubs, Mets, three NL West teams are probably all better than anybody in the American League. The Phillies might fall into that also. Before long, the Braves are playing a lot better and going to get Acuna and Strider back. The National League is just much better than the American League. So I think the Yankees have kind of time to fix this because I think in general they have strengths. Fried is a strength. Judge is a strength. Lefty power, especially in their ballpark, is a strength, and they have a long, talented bullpen. A lot of guys that could help. That will be even better if, like the last few outings by Devin Williams, is a sign that he's about to turn it around. So they have strengths uh, in a weak division and a weak league. And so the question is, can they self fix and then outside fix over the next 90 days or so to make it a real strong run over the last 60 days? I think that's how you have to look at it and not get myopic, which is you're watching them and you're not recognizing the problems of everybody else.
No, I hear you, but this is our Yankee show, and we have to talk about the Yankees' issues and problems that they're currently going through because there is such high expectations. They are the most known symbol in all sports. They're the biggest franchise you could argue in sports. This is what we want to talk about, and for me, I think yesterday was egregious, and I understand the injuries to Volpe and Jazz. That's one thing, but why is Ben Rice not playing yesterday? He's been one of your best hitters all season long against the right-handed pitcher. I'm tired of the righty versus righty. We think that we have better analytics on this, that we like our right-handed bats. Why is he not playing yesterday? Austin Wells has been going through a slump. JC Scarra, I know, is a lefty, but it's clear Scarra is not going to be the backup catcher for long, Joel, on this roster. So I just wonder, did you punt on the game yesterday knowing that you weren't going to get much length out of Warren? You had Carrasco, and you're kind of sliding him into the bullpen because it feels like they're playing a little bit of a game here with the rotation as well. With we scratch Schmidt because we're going to use Yarbrough now and extend him out a little bit because we don't believe in Carrasco much anymore as a starter. We could throw him in the bullpen, play a little bit of game here, and have him back in on the Warren starts. It feels like yesterday was a punt from the Yankees and Aaron Boone. Maybe I'm wrong in reading that, but that's how it feels as a Yankees fan when I see a lineup put out like that. And Ben Rice is not anywhere to be found in the lineup.
Well, no matter how you shake it out, they scored 5 runs yesterday. And usually when you score 5 runs, you win a game. Like, you might not like how they got to 5 runs. You would have felt better if Ben Rice was in the lineup. They lost the game because Will Warren is not a major league starting pitcher right now. That's why they lost the game. And I think everything else beyond that, where you could like load management or not. Like, he's trying to play the long game with his lineup and using the DH for various things. And right now, like, if Ben Rice is going to play, he's either going to DH or put Goldschmidt on the bench. And I think, if Goldschmidt was on the bench yesterday, you'd probably say, why is Goldschmidt on the bench? They got 5 runs. You might not like how they got to five
It
runs,
that
but if
looked
they
like an
score
actual
five,
fu-
but if
but
they
that
score 5 runs, most days you should win a baseball game, right? They average 5 runs a game. That's what they average. They scored their average yesterday. You don't like how they got there because you want to be able to fight and say Ben Rice should have been in the lineup. This guy should have pinch hit, whatever. They got 5 runs. Their big problem is they have two starters in the rotation who essentially give them nothing. No length, no quality. That's the problem of the team. Ryan Yarbrough ends up pitching Saturday as a combination of a protection. Like, Schmidt probably could have started, but he has to play the long game. If something happens to Schmidt, or Fried or Rodon, then they're in a spiral that's impossible. So against the team that literally can't hit lefty pitching, go look at the Rays numbers against lefties. He starts Yarborough, and Yarborough gives up 1 run in 4 innings,
Yeah,
and they have control of that game, but they didn't score. I mean, that's a game where all your guys were in the lineup. They scored 2 runs, right? Like they didn't score enough that day against Zach Littell, who's like a home run machine, right? So like the lineup that you wanted scored 2 runs on Saturday, but they did it. They pushed Schmidt out. I wrote Saturday that they were putting Carrasco behind Warren
yes.
for Sunday's game to just be able to. They're just trying to keep as much pitching around as possible because they know they have a problem. The other problem they have is they don't have a lot of optionable pitchers. So it isn't like they could do, like, if you've noticed, the Mets are in this situation. The Mets are getting great starting pitching ERA wise, but they're not getting length.
They're not getting
And
length.
so therefore the Mets just had to do a churn of bringing up, sending down, bringing up, sending down a lot of guys. The Yankees are not that position. Like the next move, the guy who has an option in the bullpen is Ian Hamilton, who's pitching well. So you probably don't want to send him down. The next move is you might have to release Tyler Matzik. Like at a time where I think they think there's something in Tyler Matzik. They'd like to see 10, 15 outings, see if they could get him as a second strong lefty. So they're trying to churn and not lose that. My suspicion, I have nothing, I have no proof of this, is I might be a little surprised if Warren is in the rotation the next turn. Like they could bring up someone like Alan Winans and see what he looks like. And then you have Warren kind of like maybe working on a thing or two that they haven't liked down at AAA. Because all they're doing is placeholding. They're placeholding to Hill. They're placeholding to, I don't know what's going on with Stroman. The updates aren't that informative on him. But I think it's Hill, Stroman, July trade or two. And so everything else is a placeholder until then.
I hear you.
You don't like how they scored 5 runs yesterday. If
No, I
Narvaez
thought
was in
that.
the lineup and they scored 5 runs, would you have been okay?
Yeah, I would have because they
What's
were
it matter how they score the 5
they
runs,
were
Ryan?
not competitive most of the game, Joel. It was the
But they
seventh and
scored
eighth inning.
5 runs.
It was a terrible offensive outing yesterday. I
It
don't
was
care.
a
Like,
terrible offense. It was terrible defense. But the biggest problem was that Will Warren put them in a hole that most teams do not survive, regardless of what their lineup is. Don't lose the forest for the trees, which is they were terrible on defense yesterday, but they're probably a better defensive team than that if Jazz and Volpe are playing in the middle of the
correct.
field. Like that was part of the bad defense yesterday, right? They didn't hit for a large chunk of the game, but they didn't hit for a large chunk of the game against Zach Littell on Saturday,
I know.
right? With their A lineup out there. The big problem was, don't lose the big problem. They put Will Warren on the mound and he was non-competitive and it was worsened by bad defense behind him, right? And I just think that is the issue. Like they have to clean that up. Like everything I hear with like go get a third baseman, Nolan. Like I got it. You could always improve everything, but if they don't have 4 and potentially 5 good starting pitching, so starting pitchers, they're not going to be competitive every day, which you want to be, right? Like if you throw a good starter every day, you have a competitive chance to win the game. And then the second thing is you begin to crack at what is a big, big strength of theirs, which is they could send out a lot of different relief pitchers and feel really good about them. I mean, at this point, right? You feel good about how Weaver looks, how Hill looks, how Mark Leiter Jr. looks, how Hamilton looks. You know, like there's a lot of guys
Yeah,
who he could send out, and you don't, but most of them are 1 inning at a time,
correct.
and they don't have a real length guy beyond Yarborough, who might have to be like an opener or a length guy for one of these bad starters on a regular basis. And the last thing you want to do is begin to chip away at a strength because of your weakness. And Ryan, I get it. The lineup was bad yesterday. The defense was bad. They have a institutional problem. 2 out of every 5 starts, they are sending a guy who is probably not a major league starter out to start. And unless that gets fixed, and by the way, part of that fix is believing Luis Gil will come back from an injury and pitch as well in year 2 as he did in year one last year, which maybe he will for their benefit. Like, I don't know how they get to a mountaintop if he doesn't. And then all these other guys have to stay healthy. They have a real problem. And by the way, they had the same problem last year. We never got to it because they only used 8 starters all year, and 6 of the starters started 153 of 162 games, and it was the 6 guys you'd want to start games, right? Like, so you saw very little of Will Warren, you saw very little of Cody Petit. The main guys started all the games. That almost certainly looks like it's not going to be the case. They're already up to 7 starters this year, right? With Yarborough starting. Ryan, I hear you on the lineup yesterday. I could hear you about defense. But the Yankee problem is they do not have a complete starting rotation that gives them a high-end chance to win every time they play the game.
I hear you. I hear you. I think it's a great point by you about the starting rotation. I know what you're saying. You don't want to chip away at the strength of the bullpen. They're already been overworked as it is. They're trying to manage that. Clearly, what you saw over this weekend, how they're trying to make sure that the bullpen is impacted. They do have off days, a bunch, I think 4 in May coming up here. With the rain out, they'll have more days off. There'll be chances to work around there. I think, and this is where I'm coming from, Joel. I am getting concerned that we are back to pre-Juan Soto in 2024 to the 2023 Yankees. That this is a lineup that is, and I know you don't want to hear this. This is a lineup that is made up of besides Paul Goldschmidt, who's given you a lot, and it's been really impressive. The rest of the lineup, I am concerned that they are an Aaron Judge injury away from being truly a below-average offensive team. And I know what
Well,
you're saying.
that's probably true. I mean, they're very Aaron Judge centric, but I think one of the things that has to be now appreciated by Yankee fans is, well, first of all, whatever they're doing, I think they're second in the major leagues in runs scored. Obviously, a lot of that is Judge. What do you think Aaron Judge will end up hitting this year, batting average wise?
Probably what, like 285, 290 maybe?
Well, if it's 285, 290, he's about to hit 235 the rest of the year. So that means that they really have to get a lot from a lot of other people. Paul Goldschmidt is probably not going to hit 600 against lefty pitching all year, which is literally what he's hitting. He's hitting 600 against lefty pitching, and he's hitting over 300 in general. Like, he's also, like, you would sign up today. Does he finish at 265, 270? Yeah. So that's a lot of stuff coming. So they're going to need, like, a lot from a lot of guys, which is, like, will they get it? I don't know. And yet, having said that, maybe they'll get something from Stanton if and when he ever comes back. That would be beneficial. And then then Ben Rice is really not going to be in the lineup, potentially. Do they get anything from LeMahieu that's like just better than Pablo Reyes and
Pablo
Peraza?
Reyes. Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Like a 700 OPS and field of position, like, fine. Like, nothing great, but we see he had to take a cortisone shot recently. Like, the lower half of his body can't stay in healthy. So I don't know that you can believe that. But they do, especially in their ballpark, have a way to score runs that is unappealing if you like watching baseball. But they're always a swing away from being in a game. And they have a lot of lefty power plus Judge. So they're going to be in a lot of these games because you're going to sit there and go, God damn it, this offense is terrible. Wow,
terrible.
3-1 homer.
It's terrible, Joel.
So can we do this real quick? So they really probably should have gotten, like, I wonder if Aaron Boone managed the game on Friday night the way Kevin Cash did, would we be leading with that on Pinstripe Post this week? I get it. I understand the Tampa Bay Rays do not like to intentionally walk batters. But once again, Paul Goldschmidt is batting 600 against lefties. The guy on deck is Cody Bellinger. There is a base open. How in the world do you pitch to Paul Goldschmidt there? By the way, they got away with it on Saturday at the game. The open base is second base, right? You've got Aaron Judge up, who last at that point made out in like the middle of March, right? I don't know how you pitch to him in that spot. I don't know how you fall asleep at night pitching to Goldschmidt with a lefty and Judge with the game on the line. I just don't know how it's done. And so, like, every once in a while, it's a good reminder. There are other managers besides Aaron Boone fucking games up, and doing things that we would find like in a different media market. I wonder how Kevin Cash would have been treated with those two moves.
Yeah.
One of which worked, by the way. Judge grounds out in one of the
Yes.
situations. But I don't care what the outcome is. You could not pitch to Aaron Judge in that situation. I just don't know how your head hits the pillow at night if Aaron Judge beat you there or Paul Goldschmidt beat you against the lefty pitcher at this point. You know where he is and who is on deck and what the game situation is and who's on the mound for you. I'm blown away by it. So, like it is a good thing. I get it. It's Pinstripe Post. We're in New York. We're gonna put a microscope on the Yankees, but everyone in the AL East is worse than the Yankees this morning by at least 2 games.
By at
You
least
know,
2 games. That's right.
right? And all of them have, as if you watch the Rays over the weekend, all of them have big problems. And the one thing, and again, I know probably a lot of people who watch this like hate Brian Cashman and his front office. I get it. Like that's part of the thing. But those guys have a history of solving problems through the years. The Yankees generally win 90 plus games. They do get to the playoffs. They do problem solve as the season goes along. Will this be the season? Like, will it spiral? Like, will this be a week where, oh shit, the Padres sweep them and they're like now in a 5-game losing streak and they're beginning to spiral? Maybe, but history, until I see a reversal of history, I will kind of believe like the Yankees will, it's not a very good league. The Yankees will putter along and then we'll see what they do to fix this as the year goes along.
Yeah, and I know I'm being a crazy hyper, fan and criticizing the team on these injuries and where their holes are. And it's kind of where I want to ask you here, Joel, is the impact of the Jazz Chisholm injury and the Anthony Volpe injury. Do you think, first off, do you get a sense that Volpe will be okay? I mean, when you hear pop, that
Yeah.
gets a little scary when you hear that. We know that Jazz, they said the timeline's 4 to 6 weeks. So for those two guys, I, I think this offense is in trouble if they're not in it, no matter what. No matter what you think of them as players, they're better players than what you currently have there out right now. So what is your sense on the Volpe injury and how much they're going to miss Jazz Chisholm?
Yeah, look, when you lose starting players are starting players for a reason. The Yankees do not have a good bench. Most teams don't. Uh, the lend, again, there's one of those things is I encourage people to go and look where how many guys are hitting under 200 with
Yeah.
say 75 plate appearances this year in the major leagues. It's a lot. I mean, the sport is still hitting like 235 on a whole. There's a lot of people struggling. So it's hard to find first line players. If the league is hitting 230, right? And run scoring is kind of static to where it's been these last few years, then like there's a league wide issue with offense and hitting, which means most teams are struggling with the starting nine, so what does anyone's bench look like? Um, but the Yankee bench is not good. Um, and they have some general issues. Uh, Chisholm was only hitting one something. Volpe was a little bit what he was last year, which was a roller coaster ride of really, really hot and really cold. Unfortunately for the Yankees, it looked like he was in the middle of a hot just as he got hurt. Uh, so it will be worse. Like, with this situation, they could actually we did this a little last week, and it is such fool's gold, and I'm going to do it again. They could really use LeMahieu to come back and be league average because then they could put Cabrera at second base. And they'd be okay. Like, to me, Cabrera is as good a bench player as most teams would have. The problem is he's starting for the Yankees because they don't have a third baseman, really. So that's an issue. And maybe it gets solved in 2026 if George Lombard's rise continues to be the way George Lombard's rise looks. Maybe they solve this at some point, moving forward internally. But that's not until next year. He's 19 years old. He's not.
Yeah.
I know that there'll be people. I've already asked the Yankees. It's way too aggressive to think he's playing in the major
No.
leagues this year at
No. No.
19.
No.
So,
Is
uh,
LeMahieu a actual like? Could we see him like in this Padres series, or is it end of the
no, I
week?
think I think I think that it's further away. I still think it's a minimum of a week away because you've got to see some back-to-back 9 inning games
Yeah.
in the minor leagues, which you haven't seen. Because remember, his arrival probably means that, well, I guess they could send Vivas back down,
It
but
could.
but like the question is, do you send Vivas down or do you just bite the bullet and say either Peraza's Yankee career is over, or maybe it's not. He might get through waivers.
Yeah.
Like the idea that like remember 2-3 years ago they could have really traded him for some stuff, and that stock has completely cratered. It's worth nothing pretty much now. Would somebody take a shot on him? You might get him through waivers. Uh, um,
Wouldn't you
but
rather DFA a Pablo Reyes if you were going to bring up DJ LeMahieu?
yeah, but I think that's like end of the roster. Like yes, maybe because someone like Pablo Reyes should be available on the street all the time. So uh, if you want to keep Peraza around because he's the backup shortstop, maybe yeah, sure. Like I just think it's actually like, to me, I think we said this on the first show we did for the regular season. Peraza and Reyes will not be Yankees on August 1st. The question is, will they not be Yankees on July 1st? Will they not be Yankees on June 1st? They've made it to May 1st. But they have to improve on that, the length of their positional group.
Yes.
And again, some of that might come internally, Stanton slash LeMahieu, but like then you're betting on two of the most injury prone players and older injury prone players in the sport. So the thing you have to do is, when and if you ever do get LeMahieu back, it's just a matter of time until you lose LeMahieu.
Yeah.
But in this short period, value is when you get it. In the short period where Jazz is not available to them, the Yankees would be a better team with Cabrera at second and LeMahieu at third than they are in their current condition. Again, assuming LeMahieu could even be minus 10% to the league average. Because these other guys, to me, I haven't seen yet that Peraza is a major league player. He's not a major league player. I could imagine that LeMahieu is a slightly below average major league player for an extended period.
And it's just a matter, like you said, that double-edged sword balance of can he stay healthy for 5 out of 7 games, during the week, or 4 out of 6? Can he give you
Yeah,
that in a week? And
probably
then
the answer is probably not at
yeah,
this point because
but
we
they
just
need it.
haven't seen it. Right.
They
But
need
it
it right now. That's the
right now,
problem that
right
we're
now.
that we're in currently with the. And the other thing I want to ask you on Volpe, like you said, maybe the Yankees are hoping it gets rained out tonight and tomorrow, and they can get a little bit more rest and for Volpe. Um, do you get in your time covering baseball? Do you get concerned when you hear a player describe a pop, and especially in the
Sure,
shoulder? And like,
sure.
could that potentially be even worse than that the Yankees are letting on?
Yes, he was on the bench yesterday, and if Boone is to be believed, there was certain circumstances he was going to be used in the game to defend or to run. So I think if he was a fully compromised player, that would not be the situation. Now, is it possible he was in the uniform as a decoy to try to throw the Rays off? I think this is something that's come up on the show previously as well, Ryan. I've learned over the years, I will believe a player is playing when he's playing.
Yes.
Like, I don't believe anything until I see the player who I've been told isn't hurt is playing. So I'll be at the ballpark tonight if it doesn't get rained out. If Anthony Volpe at 7:07 p.m. is standing at shortstop, I'll believe that, because certainly if something is torn in there, they're not putting him at shortstop, right? Like they're not going to turn a 3-week injury into a season-ending injury. Like that's malpractice. It's stupid, the whole thing. But I don't believe anything anybody tells me in this sport. I've been lied to too much by too many people over the years. So when I see a player play, I go, oh, he's a player. Until then, I don't.
Fair enough, Joel. Fair enough. I do want to ask you about Cody Bellinger. Hits his 200th career home run yesterday. It's not been a great start to the year for him, and I'm sure he's even not even meeting his expectations of what he was hoping to do this year. What are you seeing from Bellinger, and why he just has not been able to get going here offensively for this Yankees team?
Yeah, he said something Saturday that I thought was interesting when I was out there, which was like he wasn't himself early because no matter when he struggled, like he doesn't strike out as much as he was striking out early this season. And I thought like the last few days had been more encouraging. He had been making better contact in general and harder contact consistently, both left hand. He's a guy like the thing about Bellinger when he's good, one of the reasons why I liked it so much is he can hit left on left and he can hit with two strikes, which is two things you need for 162 games. And it's certainly something you need in October if you're going to get there. And I thought he would bring that. You know, he's got a different kind of. I never try to break down swings. It's not my thing, except to say his swing is unique. Like he's got the very scarecrow straight
Yes.
up thing going on at all times. So it's not an uncomplicated swing. So I can imagine when it's off, it's off. I'm sure it scares a lot of teams, which is why he was not in demand. When you combine that, his salary, exit velocity, barrels, all the things we know about now. Having said that, I'd be way more worried about the left fielder than I would about Bellinger because there are things that Dominguez cannot do. Now, he smoked the ball batting right handed yesterday, smoked it, and it turned into a double play. You know, bad break, a ball to the left, that's a double down the line. They
Yes.
might have actually won the game yesterday,
Yes.
right? Uh, but he's got real issues against lefties. I mean, even to make contact
I was going to say his contact
against
rate versus lefties is not good.
is bad. And on defense, like he might throw in a game every once in a while where Boone gets to go, see? But most of the games are like he doesn't even handle like ground ball singles to left field cleanly. And the not knowing where the fence is all the time, overrunning balls when he's running towards the line. Again, I don't. Everson Pereira is actually hitting a triple A. I don't know what that means. Like, if hitting sucks in the major leagues, I can only imagine it sucks to a different level and pitching sucks to a different level at AAA. So I don't know what minor league numbers mean, but he's hit a little bit. And the one thing I could tell you about Pereira, seeing him in a bunch of spring trainings, is he could defend. Like if his arm's okay, post Tommy John, and he's been playing the corner outfields, he's been playing both left and right, mixing in a little DH at AAA. I wonder when and if he becomes they're going to have a nice long runway for Dominguez because there's a lot of people in the organization who really believe in him. But I am blown away by a guy with athletic skill who supposedly is working on this, who is this bad on defense.
Yeah.
And by the way, can he slide going into second base every once in a while? Because that is not in his wheelhouse either.
It's scary. I will admit, like when
His
you watch.
technical baseball is a real blight on Yankee player development. If I were looking at it, what he doesn't do well technically is one of the ones where I would sit and say, are you so worried that he's swinging hard and hitting hard that the nuanced part of the games got left in the garbage
I was gonna
or
say that.
left to, oh, we're going to go out on Tuesday afternoon for 15 minutes and work on it, as opposed to that they're really important for a team that's trying to win a championship because there's stuff he doesn't, there's obviously skill there. There's pop in the bat. There's athleticism. And yet I'm not sure there's a baseball player, a
Yeah,
full baseball player who's anything more than average because of what he can't do. I got to see more to believe there's more. And again, he's in the infant. He hasn't played a ton of baseball. He missed a ton of time. I want to have an open mind with it. But things that were not good are not getting better from what I see. It's small samples, but they're not encouraging samples.
And there's small samples, Joel, early in the season, right? Like this is the May. This is when we're starting to really get into the marathon. Like we're talking about, like I'm asking you to talk me off a ledge because it's only May 5th, and you're getting
Yeah.
crazy, Ryan. But those are things that you notice and that I notice, like for him defensively, and like you said, the nuances and the technicality. It's scary watching a fly ball get hit to left field with him. And it's
Yeah.
scary when he's grounding a single because it pops out of his glove every time. And I can't tell you how many fans are around me going, oh, God, here we go. Like, it's just the small little things of, are you fully invested into the rest of the baseball game besides just being at the plate and swinging really hard at the ball, if that
Yeah.
makes sense?
I that's why I'm saying is so the one thing about Bellinger is Bellinger's a very good defender in multiple positions in the outfield and a very good base runner, right? And I think he'll end up with a 725 OPS. Because I think he'll homer at Yankee Stadium to a 725 OPS. That there's, like when he hits it, he hits it, and it's going to get out of the stadium, line driving out of the stadium. So I think he'll bring that other stuff that has value. Should he be hitting third or fourth in their lineup when Stanton again? If and when Stanton returns, I think that won't be true. And I think one of the reasons he was Jazz was not hitting. Like if Jazz was hitting, he would hit like in one of those spots. Now, is Jazz ever going to be a good hitter? Or is he going to be a freak show who will hit some homers but strike out too much? So like there's a version of Jazz that could be such a good baseball player because it's so talented, and I'm not sure about it,
Yeah.
But I Dominguez stuck out to me this weekend where I
Yep.
kept watching it and I'm like, is he better at anything today than he was on March 15th?
I don't think so.
And so see to me, like you can't, they're using their sixth and seventh or seventh and eighth starters as regular starters. I get it. Dominguez is supposed to be that's why I keep going back to starting pitching. Like I'm not sure how you fix it thing unless guys get healthy and the other guys stay healthy and the guys get healthy are good. Like with Dominguez, he's supposed to be a starting player who is more fully formed than say Will Warren doing what he's doing. And I'm watching it and I'm like, this is a really rough-edged player. Still young, still hasn't played a lot of baseball, talented. I want to see more of it. But I wonder what the rope is.
And it makes you wonder about how Boone's been managing him a little bit, where you've seen him, I think, within the last week or so, he hasn't been in the lineup as much consistently.
Yeah.
And even if it is against a lefty or not, like there's been a lot
That
of
has
starts.
something to do with Grissom, though, too,
That's what I'm
right?
saying. Grisham's just playing so well. It's like you can't take his bat out of the lineup right now, and you need him to play center field defense. So
when they're Bellinger, Grisham, Judge, I wonder if that's the best defensive outfield in the sport.
oh, I mean, it's definitely the best for the Yankees version in terms of what
Yes,
they can put
it's
out
the
there.
best in a long time for them because this version of Grisham is better defensively than last year. Also,
Yeah.
besides the offense,
Yeah.
the defense is really even better. And I mean, he came with the reputation. And you see Judge in right field, like we saw Judge in center field where he's a below average. You put him in right field, especially in Yankee Stadium. I mean, he's probably, besides everything else he's doing, he's probably the Gold Glove right fielder at this point. So that is a lockdown defense when the ball's in the air. I just wonder is like every time I'll be curious, like Rodon, for example, though he's starting, you know what? Rodon started throwing more ground balls, but in general, he's a fly ball pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Is like every time he starts, I wonder if the Yankees go to that outfield.
Definitely something to think about. Joel, let's wrap this up with Joel's notebook. I read your column on Max Fried and Aaron Judge, and I thought it was spot on. I thought it was great analysis by you, and I want to open it up for you a little bit, and also tell you I think you were spot on earlier this year when you said he kind of reminds you of a certain player from 1993, Jimmy Key. A lot of fans are bringing up Jimmy Key when they bring up Max Fried. Jimmy Key pitched at 1993 when I was only 1 year old, Joel. So give me a little bit of leniency. I didn't see Jimmy Key growing up, but I can see the starts. And it's actually pretty interesting when you look at the first 7 starts for Jimmy Key, and now you look at the first 7 starts of Max Fried. Fried's been even better than Key if you look at the numbers, but they're still very similar in the fact of you're talking about a sub 1.5 ERA and a guy who would just every time you gave him the ball the Yankees are going out to win baseball games. So for Max Fried, he's been everything and then some for this Yankees squad. And I just want to open the floor for why you think he is more valuable than Aaron Judge has been in for this team.
Yeah, so we don't have people storming the Capitol or anything here. If there were an MVP of 5 weeks, Aaron Judge would win it. American League, Galaxy, like in any traditional way, Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball. And this year, it's actually not even that close, right? Because he does have the defensive component also, besides the fact that he's hitting 400 and he's hitting homers and he's striking out less than he's ever struck out in his career. And he's hitting the clutch. I mean, he's a brilliant player who here in year 10, which is the rule, has locked down the Hall of Fame pretty much, probably, right? Like, he's that level of player. He's a Hall of Fame player playing as great as he's ever played. So if there was a vote, he'd win unanimously, which is how he won his last MVP, right? I think is he'd win unanimously again. So I want to, but if we were saying, let's really emphasize the middle name, we're going to take most and player out. Valuable. Like, what's valuable? This whole show has been about what their rotation looks like. They have two guys in the rotation who pitch poorly and don't throw innings. Well, what's the value then if you have the guy who's leading the major leagues in innings, who's covering innings? Like, the only reason Ryan Yarborough could start on Saturday is because Fried gave them 7 innings on Friday. That was part of the equation to do what they were doing and not push Schmidt. How valuable is that? You're impacting not just the day you pitch. And by the way, on the day you pitch, your team is 7-0.
Yeah.
I think they're what, 3 under 500 or 4 under 500 in every other game this season that he has not pitched. They are 7-0. So he is pitching well. He's leading the major leagues in innings, and he's leading the American League in ERA. And in a rotation where that's your problem. Again, if you took Judge out of the lineup, the Yankees lineup would be a lot less. And he's the MVP, right? Like, he's the MVP in every traditional way. But for pure value for this team, missing Cole, missing Hill, and missing either Schmidt or Stroman for the whole season. So 3 veteran starters out at all times this year. I don't know how you could be more valuable. It's almost like I try to make this case. I was at the ballpark with somebody, and I said, there was a year where I thought the most valuable player on the Yankees was Gio Urshela. And they in 2018, and it was what? And I said, what? Yeah, I said, because Andujar got hurt like the second or third game of the season after he had almost won rookie. So that was 2019. After he'd almost won Rookie of the Year in 18. And the Yankees essentially had the Carlo Carrasco situation at third base. Like, who the hell is going to play third base? And a guy showed up and played it like an all-star for the rest of the year on both sides of the ball. And so, like, I was like, well, there's better players on the Yankees than Gio Urshela. But is there anyone more valuable considering what would they do?
Yeah.
Like, what would and let's take this one step further. Again, if the Yankees have Juan Soto, you have Juan Soto. He's a brilliant player. But if the Yankees had Juan Soto instead of Max Fried right now, I think they'd have a worse record. They'd have a better offense, maybe, and a worse record because they weren't going to re-sign Soto and then sign Fried. They were going to spend big money on one player this offseason. The intention was Soto. He goes to the Mets. They pivot very quickly within 48 hours and sign Fried. I actually think they'd be worse with Soto.
Wow.
Okay. Again, because everything is context, like everything is about context.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, who would that? They probably would have added a starting pitcher who doesn't make as much money unless they hit that perfectly. Like, would they have signed Nick Pivetta, who's supposed to start against them tonight, who's pitched really well for San Diego? If they did, then it wouldn't have been a problem. So anyway,
and that's under the assumption that Garrett Cole still blows out his elbow in spring training.
Yes, yeah, yes. Like if you're playing like Juan Soto, but you don't have Cole, Hill, and some combination of Schmidt and Stroman, I think they have a worse record.
Okay, I understand what you're saying now. Yeah,
and it's Juan Soto who is like one of the 5 best hitters I've ever seen, and but Fried's value to what the context of this team is. Like if the team had Cole and Hill, I wouldn't make that. I wouldn't say that
Right,
sentence.
right.
But they don't, and I would not dismiss the innings. The innings are covering, and by the way, it's helped that Rodon has started to do that also. Rodon's efforts the last 2 or 3 starts of not only being good but giving length is protecting a rotation that is not doing enough. Again, just look at what's happening across town. The Mets rotation statistically has been excellent. ERA, batting average against, all that stuff. But they're stretched out to 6 starters because of Senga. And when Senga goes 4 innings and 95 pitches, holy crap. Like you're in a scramble no matter how well you've pitched because every team is in their bullpen so much.
Yeah.
So the guys who give you length, which is what Cole has done all these years, right? Like Cole's genius wasn't just that he pitched well, better than well, above average. It's that he impacted the day before and the day after. Hey, I could empty my bullpen on Friday because Cole's going to give you at least 18 to 21 outs on Saturday. And then I got everybody again on Sunday to pitch, right? Because I only needed my setup guy and closer on Saturday. That's what Fried is doing. And more, that's what Rodon's doing. And by the way, the Yankees need Schmidt to do it.
Yeah.
The Yankees need Schmidt to become a 6-inning starter. You know, where he's getting 18 outs regularly and controlling a game because the Yankees' strength after Judge is the length of their bullpen. And anything that begins to deteriorate the impact of having a lot of guys going well in a bullpen, where he feels like the manager of the team feels like, oh, I could go to these 3 guys, I could go to these 3 guys, I could go to these 3 guys, but I can't because I'm blowing everybody out. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's the
And
cause.
that's why I think Fried has been so valuable.
Yeah.
Valuable. If we just take the word valuable, he's not better than Judge. Nobody in the Milky Way is better than Judge right now. He's the best player on our planet, the best player in the major leagues. He would win the most valuable player in a vote, traditional vote. But if you watch the Yankees every day, I just don't know how anyone could be more valuable than Max Fried for 5 weeks.
It's been refreshing and it's been awesome to watch him play and watch him pitch. He's like you said, you give him the ball every time. He's giving you length. He's helping relieve that bullpen and let them rest up for the next time when they go through the rotation. And you'd have a lot of uncertainties with the rest of that rotation, how much length they're going to give you.
So I'll just throw this in. When Jimmy Key did it, the value of it is, remember, 1989, 90, 91, 92, the Yankees are a below 500 team. Terrible. As bad a team as there was in baseball, especially 89, 90, 91. Those 3 years. Got a little better in Buck Showalter's first year in 92. I think they were 10 under 500 in 92, but starting to, this is a little better. And then that offseason, they got O'Neill and Jimmy Key, right? And really, that began to change who they were. And Key was like Fried, the original Fried, and I think literally the day the Yankees signed Fried, I think the column I wrote was he reminds me of Jimmy Key because he's an athletic lefty, completely unafraid and imperturbable. Like I talked to Fried the other day and I was asking him, what is the burden when Cole and Hill aren't here and Stroman to pitch innings? And he looked at me like I was crazy. And that was the right expression, right? Like, well, if they were here, would I be trying to throw fewer innings? Like, I'm going out there. I don't complicate it. These are probably, and by the way, he could have gotten off on a bad foot in New York. He didn't. He's been spectacular from day one, which again has great value, which is like how Jimmy Key was. From the second Jimmy Key went out to the mound, as somebody, I was the beat writer back then, 89 to 95. I'm the beat writer those 7 years. I've seen nothing but horse shit. Andy Hawkins, Dave LaPointe, Chuck Carey, Mike Witt, like people past their prime or kids who can't pitch. All of a sudden, the Yankees are sending out a guy to the mound who I'm watching every 5 days, and I'm like, this guy's in complete control of a baseball game every 5 days. Complete control because he's unafraid, like Fried, incredibly athletic, great pickoff move, repeatable delay. Like he really he gets lost to time. I know we've done this. He gets lost to time, just how important he was as a pivot player when they began to get good. Him and O'Neill show up at the same time, and they're both really good from day one. Again, O'Neill shows up as a guy who is an underachiever in Cincinnati, who can't hit lefty pitchers, right? Like he's going to be a part-time player. He ends up supplanting Don Mattingly as the number 3 hitter when Don Mattingly is still on the team. Like those two guys began to, stick and buck. Brian Sabian's minor league system, the draft, Bill Livesey, like things that happen. But like where do you begin to like tap the stakes in to put the tent down? Those two guys were so important to what has happened over the last 30 years. And Jimmy Key on the mound, because the Yankees just sucked from the rotation for like 4 years, where it was like there was a year where Melito Perez pitched very, very well and went 9-19. And that was their ace. And by the way, he did pitch well. They just stunk. They were so bad. But Jimmy Key wouldn't handle that. Jimmy Key went out there to win a game. And he was really, really good. He was all, if you want to know what Jimmy Key looked like, watch Max Fried.
Yeah, and I also want to ask you about Fried. Is there were some questions about him when the Yankees did sign him. How would he handle New York? How would he handle the pressure? And he just seems like a very cool customer. Just like, yeah, I mean, give me the ball and I'm going to do my best and throw like, whatever I can and help us win the ball game. He doesn't seem fazed by the New York media.
Stick Michael, rest his soul, had a thing that the way he described the player he wanted to get was he'd say, who has a slow heartbeat? Jimmy Key had a slow heartbeat. Max Fried has a slow heartbeat. We watched Will Warren get sped up yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Like things begin to unravel and he can't navigate and manage the inning to a 1 or 2 run. Like it's spiraling. It's speeding up on him. It's getting worse. Things didn't speed up on Jimmy Key. Things don't speed up on Max Fried. They take a deep breath and realize, I'm a sinker double play grounder away from getting out of this. You're in trouble. I'm not in trouble. And they're able, and that's how you survive. Like when people say New York's tough, well, not if you build the silo around you. Then it's just you're playing baseball. And I think those kind of guys, what Stick Michael would call slow heartbeat guys, that's who succeeds here. And I think if we took Max Fried's pulse, we might be afraid that he's about to die because it moves so slowly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Joel, we appreciate you, man, for joining us as another Monday, helping me talk off the ledge a little bit here. They start a series against the Padres, as weather permitting, obviously, tonight. Then they got the Athletics. It's going to be an interesting stretch coming up here, and how they balance with the injury to Jazz. Where does Volpe slot into all this? How do they handle the rotation? I will make a note, Joel. The Yankees do have, and this is maybe something I should pay attention to more, they're one of the worst teams in baseball right now when a game is decided by 2 runs or less this season. They are the fourth worst record. They're 6-12 in those games. Even if they can get back to like 500 and get back to 12-12 in the two runs or fewer games,
and they should be good at those because they have a good bullpen, right?
Right, exactly. Joel, you're the man. Thank you as always, and I appreciate you coming on, man.
All right, Ryan. See you next week.